Hey everyone. So, I've been talking about free agency for a while now. I've gone through some signings where people are expected to sign, things like that. Haven't really talked much about goaltenders. And there are some pretty decent free agent goaltenders on the market this summer. Um, and reports are in on where three of them are going to sign. Now, these are all UFAs, so they can't sign until July 1st. But it is expected that when July 1st hits, these three goaltenders will sign with certain teams. And here they are. We have Carter Hutton is expected to sign with the Buffalo Sabres. That's a big move, and that's interesting. I will talk more about that in a second. Jonathan Bernier expected to sign with Detroit, and Cam Ward is expected to sign with Chicago. Cam Ward to Chicago. That news broke yesterday, and yeah, he's going there to be Corey Crawford's backup. And last year, Crawford struggled with vertigo and missed pretty much the whole year. So Chicago didn't have a good enough backup to come in and make the team competitive with Crawford out, and it just really struggled without Crawford in the lineup. They went through a bunch of different goaltenders that played for them, and none of them worked out. Cam Ward should shore up the backup goaltender position, and he's an upgrade for Chicago at that spot. I mean, Ward, when he came into the league, he was expected to be, really good high-end starting goaltender. He won a Stanley Cup early on with Carolina in 2006, but it never really materialized for him after that. He never really got more than okay, and that's unfortunate. But Ward now certainly a backup goaltender at this point, but going to have a new home in Chicago, and he will help that team as a backup goaltender. Jonathan Bernier going to Detroit. This is a solid move for Detroit. They'll now have the 1-2 punch of Jimmy Howard and Jonathan Bernier. It's tough to call who's the clear starter in that situation. I assume that the games are probably going to be split fairly evenly, assuming both stay healthy. Bernier played really well last year for Colorado. He was a main reason that Colorado made the playoffs last year. Once Semyon Varlamov got hurt, Bernier stepped in and played really well. So he's going to help Detroit. Detroit, even with this, Detroit is still they're one of those middle of the road teams. They're not really bad, but they're not a playoff team either. So Detroit is still in that middle. That's just they're okay, but they're not good enough to be a playoff team. And this shores up some goaltending, especially since they got rid of Peter Mrazek last year. But Bernier's a nice sign. He's a decent goaltender. He's and I assume he's going to come fairly close to splitting time with Jimmy Howard. Now the real interesting one here is Carter Hutton, because Carter Hutton has never really been a starting goaltender in the NHL. He's a career backup, but he has been a very good backup. He's over 30 now, so it's a little late for him to blossom into a starting goaltender at this point. But with him going to Buffalo and Buffalo letting Robin Lehner go, I mean, Hutton is going there to be the starting goaltender. So even though he's a little bit older, Hutton is going to be the starter in Buffalo, I would assume. And he was really good for St. Louis, and this is a really interesting signing for the Sabres. Buffalo's got Eichel, they've got Dahlin now, they've added Connor Sheary, they've got some really good pieces in Buffalo. Goaltender has been a big issue for them throughout since Ryan Miller left. Goaltending has been a huge problem for the Sabres. They need a franchise goalie. At his age, Carter Hutton is not a franchise goaltender, the goalie of the future in Buffalo, but he is an extremely good bridge from now until they can find that goalie of the future, whether that's through the draft or through trade, or however they get a good young franchise goalie who can come in and take over as the the goaltender for 10 plus years in Buffalo. Carter Hutton is a great bridge to have between now and then. I think he's going to play really well. I hope he plays really well. He's getting a chance to be a legitimate starter here, and he's never really had that before. He's played long stretches with guys out injured in St. Louis, but he hasn't really been the guy before. So it will be interesting to see how he reacts to that and how he plays with that being the case. But I think he's going to play well. And looking at Buffalo and the moves they're making, they are making really, really good moves. And this team is not only building really well for the future, I think this team is going to be decent next year. Now, no, they are not a playoff team. God, no. I'm not talking about them, finishing fourth in the division and making the playoffs. But they are not going to be the worst team in the league. They are not going to be the heaping pile of garbage that they have been for the last couple of years. They are going to put a somewhat decent team on the ice, probably right around what Detroit's going to be putting on the ice. Right, not awful, but not good enough to be a playoff team yet. Buffalo is a team on the rise, though, and a few years down the road, if they don't royally screw this up, I think they're going to be really, really good down the road. They're certainly headed in that direction now. This is a high-quality signing for the Sabres. They are getting a good goaltender, and he's certainly not the future in Buffalo, but like I said, he's a very good bridge to the future in Buffalo. Now that they're going to have Hutton, who can hold the fort for probably 4 or 5 years at this point, it's time to go draft or trade or somehow find that goaltender of the future, somebody who can come in and maybe be the starter at 25, 26 and be the starter for the next 10 years. That is what Buffalo desperately needs, their next Ryan Miller. Hutton's not that, but he is a high-quality goaltender, and I'm interested to see how he does starting. So, I haven't talked much about goaltenders. These three we really know. We reportedly know where they're going, and it will just become official on July 1st. That really leaves, as far as other big-name goaltenders still out on the market, it leaves Robin Lehner, who Buffalo let go, and Peter Mrazek, who is not going back to Philly. So those are the two other goaltenders that are pretty big names that are on the market still, and we haven't heard anything about where they could potentially be going. So like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media, check out offthewallhockey.com. All those links are in the description below. Let's keep this channel growing, keep spreading the word. Let's watch that subscriber count rise. Thank you all so much for watching, and talk to you guys soon.